Dear patients of the Asylum, I don't know if y'all noticed, but it's officially October 1st. It's spooky season. And to commemorate this beautiful time of the year, I'm going to be opening up the archives to the Asylum, and specifically so that I can access the files to some of the most notorious, most horrifying monsters, creatures, and characters seen throughout movies, video games, comics, and more. Hopefully some characters that you've never seen before might be brought to your attention. Maybe you might be interested to pick up a specific comic book, maybe play a video game you haven't played before, but also I'm going to be doing this and accessing these personnel files so that I can also educate you on your chances of if you would or if you wouldn't survive these monsters, creatures, and so on and so forth. In other words, I'm going to be your guide towards survival in this spooky time of the year. So stick with me, dear patient. I've got your back, and I'll educate you on if you would or wouldn't survive against these monsters. Starting with patient file number 1. Pinhead. Your chances of surviving against Pinhead are kinda... If y'all been following me here for a little while, you probably know secretly, not so secretly, I actually have a power. It's called superhuman speed, and if Pinhead showed up, this is how fast I would break out if he showed up, because otherwise, if you don't have this power, you're kind of screwed. This is how fast I would dip. Yeah, that's what I call superhumanly cowardly speed right there. And you would wish you would be able to run that fast if Elliot Spencer right here pulled up. Yeah, I bet a lot of y'all didn't know his real name. Elliot Spencer. That's him. Elliot right here was a captain in the British Expeditionary Force during World War I, and he served up until the point where his faith was lost after witnessing the horrors of, well, just WW1. So, yeah, and then from there, eventually he ended up coming across this cube right here. This probably looks familiar. Now, this cube, which you've probably seen before, it's been referenced in so many other things. It's kind of like the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. This is the Lament configuration. It's just an ordinary toy box. Right? No. You see, the toy box, whenever you actually, solve the Lament configuration, activate the actual box itself, it basically weakens the walls of reality, and therefore it weakens the walls specifically between Earth and the hellish dimension known as Labyrinth, for obvious reasons. That's why it's called the Labyrinth, because it's literally a labyrinth. And the Labyrinth, while it doesn't traditionally look like hell, this is basically just straight up hell in the Hellraiser universe. So, yeah, great. The Labyrinth, it's hell. And proceeding over the Labyrinth, its godlike being is this giant diamond structure called the Leviathan. The Leviathan is the creator and the overlord of the Labyrinth, and more importantly, it's because of the Leviathan that we have Cenobites like Pinhead. Who you calling a Pinhead? Y'all knew that joke was coming, come on. So yeah, that's where we get these demons of this universe. And yes, the Cenobites are in fact demons. Once upon a time they were humans, but then they got turned into these monstrous creatures, much like Elliot Spencer right here before he became Pinhead. So yeah, every Cenobite, every demon, was once upon a time a human in the Hellraiser universe. So there's that. But are Cenobites inherently evil? Short answer, yes, absolutely. But there have been instances where Pinhead, right here, for example, he actually did end up saving this innocent girl from a not-so-great home setting, but the actual fate of that innocent girl was kind of left up in the air. It was ambiguous. So that's why sometimes when Pinhead shows up, he says sometimes they call us demons, sometimes they call us angels. So they can kind of dip their toes into doing good things. But what's with all the pain and pleasure stuff? Well, for them, pain is just another form of pleasure. And beyond that, I'm not going to go into too much of an extensive explanation because it just goes off the rails into the serious topics and discussions and the S&M stuff. I don't get down like that. What about your chances for survival? Well, you could fall to your hands and knees and pray for God to send you an angel, because that's what you're going to need. Because again, Pinhead, he's just a straight up demon. Because if you don't have some type of angelic assistance of some kind, you're probably going to get got by his iconic chains, and if that happens, it's game over. That being said, you could possibly pique Pinhead's interest, and this probably applies to most Cenobites. One of the characters by this woman right here by the name of Krista from one of the Hellraiser movies, I think it was called Hellseeker, she actually struck a deal with Pinhead, so you can kind of negotiate with him. Case in point, she basically just said straight up to Pinhead, hey, if you spare me, I'll give you 5 souls. In other words, she actually kind of pulled the strings and led to the demise of 5 other people, and their souls were claimed by Pinhead. Somehow, as I recall from the movie. You probably have to rewatch it, but more or less that's kind of how it went down. So again, if you can kind of pique Pinhead's interest, you can kind of negotiate and get yourself free if you find yourself in a place where the Lament configuration was activated and the walls of reality kind of weakened and he's there. Again, you can kind of weasel your way out of what looks to be like a no-hope kind of situation. That's just Pinhead specifically. Most Cenobites, like I said, probably would be, they might be like, okay, you piqued my interest, but some other Cenobites, yeah, no, there's no negotiation. If they get summoned, again, if you don't have some type of angelic assistance, it's the curtain is officially over. Just make your peace with God, you're gone. And don't forget Hellraiser, another reason why I wanted to kick off this whole entire new run that I'm going to be making on all these profiles and everything from the archives of the Asylum is because Hellraiser Revival is a video game that looks like, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be dropping this year. No promises, but it is saying coming soon rather than coming 2026. I've already actually broken this video down right here on my page right here on TikTok. You can find that. And when it comes to this game, I just hope they have like a censor feature because I really would want to stream this because this game, damn, does it look good. And the man himself, the original creator of the whole entire Hellraiser franchise, Clive Barker right here, he was a part of this game's production, apparently from beginning to grand conclusion. So in other words, the game will be expanding upon the lore of the Hellraiser franchise. So this game, it's not just going to be good in terms of combat and everything and mechanics, hopefully, fingers crossed, but in terms of narratively speaking and the story and whatnot, that's going to be as good as it could ever get. Here at the Asylum, we're going to give Pinhead from the Hellraiser franchise a solid 9 out of 10. And yes, the higher the rating, the less chances that you would have of survival against the monster creature in question. That'll do it this time for patient file number 1. Please make sure to head over here to the comment section and drop the name of any type of monster creature you'd like to see as patient file number 2. But if y'all enjoyed this breakdown on Pinhead from the Hellraiser franchise, please make sure to give me a follow, like, and a comment. And again, give me some ideas right over here in the comments. But again, I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope to see y'all in the next patient file.